Welcome to the Legacy Crusaders YouTube channel. This is Benji, and today I'm going to show my regional deck list. I was 3-0 to start the day. I lost the next two matches and just dropped because I have my invite, so there's nothing to play for after your X-2 in a big event when you already have your invite, unless you're trying to play for points, and aren't a lot of people who have the time or the money to invest into going to a regional every weekend until Nats just to get regional points. So it was doing pretty well. So let's go over the deck list and I'll mention my matchups, and maybe you'll find this deck interesting. So this is a Psy-Frame deck. I played 2 Psy-Frame drivers, 3 Psy-Frame Gamma, the monster negator. Really good against hand traps, so the deck's kind of built to trick your opponent to playing hand traps, getting negated and giving you free Omegas on your turn, which is, kind of difficult to do. Kind of need to get Ashed or Max Seed to make that happen. But this deck has quite a few ways to make that happen, and other ways to make Omegas. And Omega is the best monster in Link format just because it can leave the extra zone, and you don't have to spend time making Link monsters you don't really want to make. So play 1 copy of Psy-Frame Delta, the Spell Negator. It's just not that good in this format at the moment. I'd rather Ash a card in most cases, so an Ash would be better. But since it is once per turn, I do play 1 because it is a searchable card in this deck. I play 1 Beta because I tend to go second. Matter of fact, this deck doesn't have particularly great opening play, or at least not a consistent enough opening play. It does have some really good opening plays, and I'll show one later. But because you're always going second, opening this is a dead card, so playing more than 1 is kind of silly. I used to play 3 alphas to search the beta if I felt like I needed it to survive, but I don't know, I find I'd rather open a different hand trap or just more playable cards, so the Psy-Frame engine's gotten smaller over time in this deck. It's becoming more of a zombie deck. The rest of the hand traps are 1 Maxi, 1 Ghost Ogre, which has some combos with Emergency Teleport, which is also in the deck. 1 Ash Blossom in the main deck. I could have mained 3. Didn't really know what to pull. Deck's kind of a big jumbled mess, you'll see, so hard to figure out what to do with it. So play 1 of this. We'll take a look at the rest of the zombies. Play 3 Shiranui Solitaire, which is a 1-card Psy-Frame Lord Omega. When you tribute it, when it's on the field, you can tribute a zombie to special summon a 0 defense tuner from your deck, zombie tuner, so that can summon Uni Zombie. And if you do Solitaire into Uni Zombie, you can make Omega by sending Mizuki and reviving Solitaire. There's a double Omega play where if you open Mizuki in hand, you can also send a Gozuki and get 2 Omegas, which is pretty cool. Play 1 Shiranui Spectral Sword, which gives you a 1-card Crystal Wing combo or 1-card level 8 Synchro play. It's also a level 2 0 defense tuner, so it can be summoned by Solitaire. That's pretty neat. Play 1 Scapegoat. Scapegoat is pretty good at playing defense. It's also a level 1 0/0 zombie, so you can summon this with Solitaire. Additionally, by using Mizuki, you can kind of treat this as a pseudo glow up bulb and just summon a level 1 tuner from your graveyard. And since it's not a glow up bulb, it's not once per duel. A few more zombies in the deck. Playing 2 Necroface because it's limited to 2. Not sure if I'd play it if it were at 3 because it is kind of a normal summon only card. It would make it easier to deck your opponent out with this, and I did deck an opponent out in round 2 with Necroface. I played 1 copy of Gozuki, which makes a double Omega play possible. And one of the bigger benefits of Gozuki is that his mill effect to send a zombie to graveyard does not restrict you to playing only zombies. So if you can get this in the this is better than an Uni Zombie if there's already an Uni Zombie in the graveyard. Otherwise, this is not. So it has its situational uses. 3 Mizuki. I tried experimenting with less copies just because he's a brick in most cases, but if you play a Pot of Desires at any point in the game and you lose 1, then it becomes like a really difficult game to play. So just playing it at 3 seems like the safest bet. Play 1 copy of Shiranui Spirit Master. Used to be 2. Deck's just gotten more packed with weird stuff. It is a 60-card grass deck, so it does play 2 copies of Fairy Tale Snow. 3 definitely doesn't work because there are way too many normal summons in this deck. Play 1 Glow Bulb, Level 1 tuners are really good here, making your Psy-Frame Lord Zeta into an Omega. Recurs your card from the graveyard, and by returning the Zeta to the deck, you can recover one of the Psy-Frames. So it's nice to be able to just summon a tuner with no cost. Although I really like Glow Bulb, so I put in Jet Synchron as a secondary. Additionally, there's a lot of cards that are worth discarding in this deck, so having this in the grave is pretty cool. It's also not once per duel, so if you do return it to the graveyard, you could use it again. It's pretty neat. I played 2 copies of Raiden, Hand of the Lightsworn. I've played this deck with Lightsworns in it before, but it was pre-grass and instant fusion hit, so Norden was a thing, so you can Norden into Raiden just to go straight into an Omega before. So now the goal of this guy is just to mill cards, because it lets you play Charge of Light Brigade. Milling cards is good for you, because you can get Snow or Mizukis and so on. And it leads to some fun stuff. I play 1 Giant Rex, because this deck does play Gold Sarcophagus. It gives it another play. Spells, one of those play Grass. Soul Charge, which combos well with the Raiden after you mill a bunch of cards, along with Grass. Play 1 Psychic Field Zone, because you don't play that many Psy-Frames, so this is probably the card that could go. It was originally in here at 1 when I had like a bigger Psy-Frame engine, so I don't know, I just didn't pull it in the while prepping, but this is definitely a card that doesn't come up that often. But 1 Psy-Frame Circuit, because it's searchable with Alpha and the trap card, so sometimes you'll open with a bunch of Psy-Frames, and then if you can get this on the field, then your opponent really has to play scared. Additionally, this just being on your field scares your opponent, although it does kind of conflict with Evenly Matched, which I also have now. I play 1 Foolish Burial, because there's plenty of cards to send to the graveyard that are productive. 1 Burial from a Different Dimension. I know it's a 2 now, but unless you get all the Mizukis rolling, it's not particularly useful. So it's pretty cool otherwise. I won a duel just because my opponent put my Spectral Sword in the Banish Zone, and then I was able to put it back in the graveyard on my turn and return their Psy-Frame Omegas to their graveyard, so they couldn't actually get their cards back, and I was able to go plus, so that was pretty cool. Played 1 Emergency Teleport. That'll summon any of the Psy-Frame tuners. In addition, it'll summon Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit to let you get to a level 1, 2, or 3 tuner, so that's pretty cool. In the main deck, I play Raigeki and Dark Hull. These used to be Solemn Strikes, but I didn't really have another spell out for Masterpiece, so I figured, you know what? I'd rather have these in the main than Solemn Strike, because Solemn Strike would only work if Masterpiece activates its effect, whereas these can just come down and destroy Masterpiece. And when they tribute summon Masterpiece, if they tribute a spell, they could just pop the Solemn Strikes that way. So this is just a safer way to out him. So I feel every deck should play spell, trap, and monster outs for Masterpiece, and everyone plays monster outs, but spells are good to have. Playing Left Arm Offering. Now that I have the Soul Charge in, I have another power card worth searching. You saw the video I did with my friend A1 on Lightsworn Zombies, then you'll know that this could also be used to search Soul Charge. And sometimes your opponent will not ash this card, they'll wait to ash the grass, but if you search Soul Charge instead, then they've missed their opportunity to neg your hand. And the reason they like to ash the grass rather than the left arm is because technically, if they do ash the left arm, you could still top deck grass and then go off. So they'd rather negate grass itself to know it's out of the deck. But be careful, if your opponent looks like they have a decent graveyard, they could go Soul Charge. I play 3 copies of Gold Sarcophagus, because the deck combos really well with lots of cards in here. For Soul Charge, you can get Giant Rex, level 4. You can get Necroface, which can deck out your opponent. Additionally, if you play Potted Desires enough times, then Necroface is really good. Other things. I tend to search grass with this and just hope my opponent can't kill me, and the Psy-Frames make it easy to play defense. So you can just search grass slowly, kind of put your opponent on a clock. You can also put any monster into the graveyard if you have a Burial from a Different Dimension, or Omega can return the card that you send to the graveyard, so that's another thing you can do. And this also is a 3-card option to pop any Floodgate on the field by sending Shiranui Spirit Master to the graveyard, because when he's banished, he destroys a face-up card that your opponent controls. Play 3 copies of Charge at Light Brigade. Even though there's only 2 Raidens, the goal is that Raiden and Charge is 8 milled cards, which is enough to summon Snow if it gets milled. So Charge is better than Raiden in this case. Raiden is just played to be a searchable card. Considered putting in Illumina, but not worth it. But yeah, Illumina Raiden would be a 1-2 card Zeta. I guess you discard anything to get Zeta. Play 3 Twin Twisters, because 60 card deck, if you don't get to Spell Trap Destruction, you probably can't win. Play 3 copies of Pot of Desires. And I know there's grass in here, and playing this makes grass dead, but your opponents are also playing it, so I actually played grass after I desired, and my opponent had desired twice. He had 7 cards in deck. I still milled 30, so it's not a big deal. Plus, you have Necroface, so you can always get Necroface, normal it, return everything to the deck, and then play grass. So it happens. It's pretty fun. I made 2 copies of Psy-Frame Overload. It's better to mill in this build because you don't have that many Psy-Frames to banish things with, but every once in a while you'll get 1 on field and you'll get 1 in grave and then an Omega to keep cycling and searching. I like to call them bullets to banish your opponent's cards face down. I play 1 Breakthrough Skill as the trap out for Masterpiece because there's no real good trap out to Masterpiece. This is the best I can think of because you prevent them from popping you if you have something that can beat over it with battle, or you make it not immune to monsters or spells by breakthroughing it. So I like to main 1 of these. And I had 2 evenly matched going into the event, but I did pull 1 in an entry pack, but I still felt that it was the right amount, because honestly this card has been dead a significant amount of the time. You set 1 Twin Twister or Psy-Frame Overload, and then you can't do anything with it, so it's good because I'm always going second. It gives me, and this is kind of the replacement for the deltas. Like, I'd rather you make a board and lose the whole thing to evenly match than negate a spell card. Anyways, let's go over the extra deck, and then we'll take a look at the side. The extra deck is a little different than it used to be. I got 1 high-speed Red Shambara, put out damage and end games when you can. Start as Charge Warrior, just a level 6. You can go in to draw a card. Every once in a while you have really random levels on the field, and you can get into this. Also, if your opponent has a big field, you can just kill the whole thing with Charge Warrior since he attacks all special summon monsters once. But he is a little weak, though. 1 Black Rose, nuke the field. 1 Zeta. Used to play 2. It's kind of hard to fit anything in here. 3 Omegas. Just pump this guy out. That's the goal of the deck. The Spectral Sword summon monster is Archfiend Zombie Skull. That protects you from your Zombie Skull and your Spectral Sword from getting killed, because the only way you can summon this is with Spectral Sword's graveyard effect. You activate Spectral Sword targeting Solitaire, and you summon this. Then Solitaire will activate to summon Spectral Sword, and then you have a level 6 zombie that can't be destroyed by card effects, and a level 2 zombie tuner that can't be destroyed by card effects. So you can get by Masterpiece for a bit to make a synchro that you want, or to kind of make your opponent play a little goofy. I played 1 copy of Shiranui Shogun Saga, which I OTK'd a few people with this, and it can be at most 5,500 attack. When you synchro it, you banish a zombie from grave and increases attack by its attack until the end of the turn. If it's destroyed by battle or card effect, you can return a 0 defense banished zombie to the graveyard. So first you make this, and then the next turn you use Spectral Sword with this when it's already in the graveyard to summon Shogun Saga. And then Shogun Saga can banish Zombie Skull to gain a ton of attack points. If he dies, you can put back the Spectral Sword, and if you actually play Sun Saga, the level 10, you can then summon him by using Shogun Saga and Spectral Sword. But I don't play that, because generally the idea is to go into Crystal Wing with that combo, because you can go into any level 8 synchro, and because the Zombie Skull is a synchro, you can go into Crystal Wing. Then I play a Red Dragon Archfiend Engine. I play 1 Scarlight, 1 Abyss, who negates any face-up card in the field, monsters, spells, or traps. So he lets you kind of push through back row. I don't think it came up at the regional. I don't really remember. I play 1 Bane. because Bane can tribute itself to special summon either itself or Abyss or Scarlight from the graveyard to a regular main monster zone. You can also just tribute some random monster you have to summon one of these back and just have big beaters that your opponent has to play around. Scarlight also deals damage, burn for game, which is cool. Abyss, when he inflicts damage, can summon any tuner from your graveyard, so you can get back Uni Zombie or Ghost Ogre if you want a Ghost Ogre. Abyss is a little more interesting. When he inflicts damage, you have to summon 2 tuners, one from your deck and one from your graveyard with the same level. So sometimes you can summon Psy-Frame tuners, and then they can be used as bullets for the overloads you have on the field. You can also summon a Ghost Ogre and a Uni Zombie at the same time, which is pretty cool. Yeah, lots of things you can do. You can do Scapegoat, Scapegoat, and Glow Bulb, if that helps. I actually put some Xyz in here this time. I put in number 41, Baguska. Never made it, but had times when I made Tornado Dragon, just the pop-up back row. And a cool play with Tornado is you can make Tornado, use Tornado to pop by detaching a Fairy Tale Snow, targeting like a skill drain or something, and then use Snow to banish the Tornado Dragon so that it's not on the field anymore. So that came up once, but my opponent had a, what do you call that thing, artifact, Lance, the one that says you can't banish cards, so it backfired once. But it was a neat play. And the side deck that I played, 2 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Did not main them, but did side them in just about every game. So once you know for sure you're going second, like if you win game 1, this makes the most sense to put in. But it generally came in all the time anyway. Played 1 Foolish Burial Goods, which is the most random card I could have sided. Thought being, if I'm gonna go first, and sometimes I'm gonna choose to go first just because I think my opponent can't play if I get any kind of disruption. This gives me the option to search any Psy-Frame. So rather than play another Overload, this just puts Overload in grave. So I thought it'd be a decent play. It never really came up. I think I sided in once. I played 3 Pendulum Storm. Since the Pendulum matchup is terrible for this deck, evenly matched probably would have been better if I would have just sided it in, but it didn't matter. I won the Pendulum match I played. I played 1 Drowning Mirror Force, non-targeting, non-destruction. I did play Cosmo, but it didn't come up, so it didn't matter. I played 1 Typhoon to be a second Ghost Ogre. I have Ghost Ogres. I just want the ability to play both in the same turn. So if you're playing against True Dracos, this comes in because your opponent will set a card generally before they resolve the effective diagram, so this gives you the ability to destroy it. This came up once where I misplayed by not setting it, because it's not the worst card to set, because you can still hit cards with it. I had 2 more breakthrough skills for Masterpiece, because people don't expect you to side in more of this, so they just keep not protecting it from trap cards. Also, this is okay against Trickstars. You can prevent yourself from being burned to death by negating the Licorice. That's the other thing it was mostly used for. It's also a card you can Foolish Goods, and Omega can bring it back, and you can make it so you can play the game. I played 2 Fiend Comedian. This was in case I played some other 60-card matchup, some sort of Lightsworn deck, where I just needed to put some sort of I wanted to get rid of my opponent's grave. Never came up. I did side it in, but it just didn't show up. 2 Strikes and a Warning. It was for Masterpiece, I guess, was the warning, and the other 2 strikes were, for sure you're going first. It gives you another disruptive play. So these were coming in for going first, along with what was that card? Breakthrough Skills and Foolish Goods. Yeah, that's the deck. Round 1, I played against Ancient Gear. Ancient Gear, what do you call it? True Dracos. 2-0'd them. It was fairly straightforward. Played Pendulum Magicians in round 2 and beat him by deck out, because he played Pot of Desires twice, and then I got Grass in hand, managed to summon Snow by banishing 2 Necroface on my turn, so since he only had 7 cards in deck, that puts him in 0 cards. I just had to end my turn and I won. The other game was just an OTK. After returning his double Omega play, to the graveyard with Return from a Different Dimension. I mean, not Return from a Different Dimension, Burial from a Different Dimension. Round 3, I played Trick Stars and went 2-1. Just grinding out. Lost in round 4 to Trick Stars 2-1 by grinding and just not going as well. And round 5, I lost to some sort of Cosmo Draco deck. And yeah, those are my matchups. Wound up sticking around for my brother's 43rd place finish in a top 64 regional, 507 players. And my friend Akeem, who wound up going X-2 by the end of the event, but decided not to stick around for the paperwork because, again, there's nothing to play for once you have your invite. He has a first place finish otherwise. So, yeah, that's going to wrap up this profile. And if you have any questions about this deck, let me know. Their older versions are currently in the Comprehensive Psy-Frame Guide, and see you next time.